In this video, we're going to have a look at how to apply some of the finer controls within the protection settings. So in this example, I might have locked my model to keep it safe, but now I'm limiting other users from interacting with the model in the appropriate way. So is there a way to do both? To maintain protection over certain items in certain ranges, but still allow a certain amount of interaction. So in our example below, we'd like to do the following. We're going to be sharing this document with all of the different salespersons. They need to be able to edit all of this data, which is highlighted. Perhaps they are checking to see whether the details are correct, and if they're incorrect, they should be given the opportunity to fix it. However, I don't want them to change any of the cells in white, which detail the month, which is being driven by this formula, looking into the date, the salesperson, or the amount. Now you can start to see why simply moving to the Review tab and pressing Protect Sheet and clicking OK doesn't give us the desired result, since the user cannot even select all of these different cells which we are meant to allow them to edit. So how can we unlock certain cells? I'm going to turn protection off, and because I didn't create protection using a password, I can simply press the unprotect button and we can now get back to editing all of these cells. Now, as we mentioned very briefly in the previous video, by default, all cells are actually set to a locked status. And how do we see this status? We can simply select the cells and use the master control keyboard shortcut of Control 1. The final tab in the Format Cells dialog box is that of protection. And as you can see, we have two options, locked and hidden. Now, the reason why many of us don't know that all cells are actually locked by default is because, as it says here, locking cells or hiding the formulas has no effect until you protect the worksheet. So now that it is set to locked, we would actually like to take some of these ranges and remove this locked feature. So for example, let's select all of these cells. I'm going to press Shift and 8 to suspend that selection so that I can still use my keyboard. And now I'm going to press Control 1 and I'm going to turn these cells off of being locked. And to demonstrate how hiding the formulas works, I'm going to select this entire column for month, press Control 1, and also set this formula to be hidden. Let's have a look and see how that worked. I'm going to press Protect Sheet, and without looking at any of these other options, simply hit OK. Now you'll notice that we can select all of these cells. We can even make some changes. So for example, changing the month to February. However, if we try and move next door, do you notice that it jumps over this hidden cell? We can't even select it. And you'll also notice that we aren't able to use any of these slices. And the reason why is because slices filter a table or a pivot table, and we did not allow the user to apply any auto filters. So what we are now going to do is unprotect this sheet and have a look at a few other settings that we can apply. So for example, pressing Protect Sheet once more, we are now going to run through some of these different options. First on the list is the ability to select locked cells. So let's turn this on, and then we'll notice that we can select cells that are locked. However, we still won't be able to edit them. We can even turn on formatting of cells, columns, or rows, the ability to insert columns and rows, or delete columns and rows. I'm going to make sure to click this option to use the auto filter, and this should allow the user to still use the slices. So I'm going to press OK. Now we'll notice that we can select these cells. However, look at the formula bar and you'll notice that the formula is hidden. Even pressing F2 brings up the warning to say that we cannot edit this locked cell. And not only is it locked, but we cannot even see the formula. However, we can select all of these cells and we can perform some kind of formatting, since we specifically allowed the user to apply a formatting. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo. And as we can see, since we allowed the auto filter, we can now also use all of these different slices. One of these users can come and select their own name, the different categories, and make any corrections as they see fit. What you should be careful about, however, is if the option to edit objects has been switched off, then despite the fact that the auto filter is on, you will not be able to select any objects on the screen. You then have the option of either making sure to select that option to edit any objects, or just like with a cell, we can set the characteristics of an object, and by default, they will be set to locked. By switching them off, this enables us to still use these objects even while other objects might be locked. So now by applying protection with all of those different options, and even though edit objects is switched off, in other words, we can't select any other objects on the screen, these slices will still work since they now have a status of being unlocked. So in summary, we've had a look at some final controls of protection. First of all, looking into the actual cells using Control 1 to go into the Format Cells dialog box and choosing between whether the cell is locked and hidden, and then applying protection and selecting from all of the different activities that a user can still perform in a protected worksheet. We then also looked at how objects, such as slices or pictures or shapes, also have protection settings. And in the same way as we adjust them with a cell, we can unlock these types of objects, allowing users to still use them as appropriate. So hopefully this will help you to strike a balance between keeping your model information safe, but still allowing other users to interact with it appropriately. We'll see you in the next video.